Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining my session on building a multi-cloud with Cloud Director service. So I'm just curious of a show of hands. I know we don't have a ton of people in yet, but is anyone using Cloud Director today or Cloud Director service? All right, good. I see a lot of hands. Thank you. My name is Joseph Polcar. I'm a staff multi-cloud solutions architect. I'm on the multi-cloud strategy and architecture team. I'm specifically on the architecture side, so we deal a lot with customers and partners, and in particular with Cloud Director service. That's my background, is really with Cloud Director. Previously I worked with defense contracts and different service providers, so that's my background really in Cloud Director. All right, so the very first step to building a multi-cloud is the VMware software-defined data center. So most of you are probably familiar with this. We've partnered with a lot of the hyperscalers to deploy our solution on the hyperscalers. So this is taking the software you already know, vSphere, NSX, vSAN, and it's putting that on a hyperscaler so you can take advantage of all of the benefits of running on a hyperscaler. Of course, they have global infrastructure, so the benefits are pretty obvious there, but you also get direct access to a lot of the native services. So if you're just running a VMware cloud on AWS, for example, you'd get access to AWS services directly. And this is really the foundation or the building block to running Cloud Director service, and this is part of the reason why Cloud Director service came out, is because the original version of Cloud Director that you would run on-prem is really only intended to manage on-prem infrastructure. So this is solving that. All right, so we have Cloud Director service. So what is Cloud Director service? It's just a SaaS version of Cloud Director. So if you're running Cloud Director on-prem and you log into Cloud Director service, you would have no idea that you're logged into CDS, as we refer to it as, versus an on-prem Cloud Director. It looks pretty much the exact same, but it allows partners to basically grow in an asset-light model. Right? You don't have to have all that infrastructure on-prem if you don't want to go with that, but you still have the option of running on-prem. So you can have endpoints on-prem or in the cloud with Cloud Director service. Now there's really two use cases to using Cloud Director service. The first of which would be for a provider or an MSP. And this is probably the most common use case because most of the time providers were the ones using the original Cloud Director under the VCPP program, or now CSP program. So that's kind of the overview of the provider realm. Then there's also the enterprise realm, right? So traditionally, enterprises would run just a single data center, right? So you'd have vSphere installed and whatnot. But in certain circumstances with VMware Cloud on AWS or Azure VMware Solution, maybe it doesn't make sense to have a whole SDDC deployed just for a single tenant. So that's where Cloud Director service comes in. An enterprise can carve up resources from a single SDDC or potentially multiple SDDCs, and you get more efficient use of your resources. And of course, there's a lower cost for each business unit. So there's the enterprise use case and the service provider use case. Now, one of the key differences also is what's available to a service provider or MSP. Today, we support VMC is supported for service providers, as well as Oracle as of Friday, I learned. Traditionally, or originally, that was only available for enterprise customers. AVS currently is only supported for enterprise customers as it stands. So that's kind of the overview. And then Google Cloud is the other one. Google Cloud VMware Engine is also supported for both enterprise and service providers. All right, so the difference with Cloud Director service as opposed to running on-prem is they've kind of redesigned it to run in a Kubernetes cluster. It now runs in a multi-zone Kubernetes cluster, and the storage is actually backed by S3. So the physical location of where it's running is in AWS, but it's a VMware managed service. It's a SaaS service that you can basically deploy instances of within about 15 minutes. So it really doesn't take long to deploy. And for anyone that's managed Cloud Director on-prem, you know it can be kind of a hassle to deploy. You know, you've got your 3 nodes that make up the Cloud Director or the Cloud Director on-prem. A lot of times there's challenges with like managing the database, things like that if you run into any issues. I see someone laughing here. So you don't have to deal with any of that with Cloud Director Service. It's managed for you. If you have an issue, you just open up a ticket with VMware and they'll get it resolved for you. So it takes a lot of that burden off and you get just basically to use the service and service your tenants. All right, so let's take a look at the endpoints. I know I've already called out some of these, but we have VMware Cloud on AWS, Azure VMware Solution, Google Cloud VMware Engine, Oracle Cloud VMware Solution, and of course on-prem. So you have that option of connecting an on-prem data center as well. All of these can be connected to a single pane of glass, right? So this is a single instance of Cloud Director Service managing all of these SDDCs. And you can see the benefits of that. You're not having to log into every different portal to manage the different resources. This is made possible through an SSL reverse proxy. This proxy is generated in the VMware Cloud Services console, so where you would manage your Cloud Director Service instance, which I'll hopefully show you a demo of here in a bit. And you would generate an OVA, deploy that in the data center, and that establishes connectivity. All you need is outbound connectivity to like 3 or 4 URLs, and that's it. It establishes that connection for you. You can also pair other Cloud Director instances. If you already had an on-prem instance, you can pair that with a Cloud Director service, or perhaps multiple Cloud Director service instances. You can pair those using multi-site pairing. So this makes it so that your provider admins can log into one place to manage all of those resources, and the tenants get to reap those benefits and determine where their workloads live. All right, so let's take a look at just kind of an overview of Cloud Director Service. Of course, you're starting with the infrastructure, all of your SDDCs at the bottom here. Those are carved up into pools called provider VDCs. So provider VDCs don't span more than one vCenter. So you would typically have at least one provider VDC per vCenter. You could also split it up into different tiers of resources or different compute types. Like in this example, I have like bronze, silver, gold. You know, you could do that as well, but you need at least one provider VDC per SDDC. And then on top of that, you can carve out tenant pools, which are the org VDCs. So if you're familiar with Cloud Director, it's the very same thing that you know, traditional Cloud Director offers. All right, and then of course at the very top we have organization. So this is the unit that has the user accounts. This is what tenants are going to log into. They get their own portal, the tenant portal, and they can manage all of the resources from that organization. All right, so availability in regions. Right now, there's a number of regions. The key point to remember is just making sure that your SDDC is within 150 milliseconds. That's the requirement on-prem for Cloud Director, and the same thing applies for CDS. Your SDDC needs to have that low latency. If you get over 150 milliseconds, so for example, if I deploy an instance in the US and I'm trying to connect an SDDC that's in South America, that latency may be too much. We have tried some overseas and it'll work, but you get to the point where vCenter will start disconnecting and things like that. So just be mindful of the latency. All right, and there are a number of integrations: vCDA, Object Storage Extension, Container Service Extension, and VMware Data Solutions. App Launchpad, really this is now being replaced by, I believe, the Content Hub. So this is going to change a little bit, but all of these extensions also work with Cloud Director Service. All right, I do have a demo. I don't know if we'll make it through all the way. I'm running low on time, but we'll start it. So we're logged into the the VMware Cloud Services console. We're going to launch the Cloud Director Service instance here, or open up the portal for it. And we have one instance deployed here. You get kind of an overview. If you had multiple instances, obviously we'd have multiple boxes here for that. I'm just going to go through what it looks like to create an instance. It's super easy. You just put in a name, you select your region, and then it's going to give you an option of what versions are available. Typically there's the latest version available. In this case we've got 10.5. as of the recording, and then the previous version of 10.4. So you have that ability to select your version. And then sometimes there's like a standard and early access. Of course, I would typically go with standard if this is going to be a production environment. Now, if we go over to integrations, we can see the cloud proxies that we've deployed. You can also integrate with Log Insight. And then if we head over to subscriptions, this is where you could create a 1 or a 3-year subscription, for example, or you could use it on demand. That's where you could create that subscription. And then an activity log across all of your instances. So if you have multiple CDS instances, you can select the region and see the activity log here. Now I'm going to go back to the Cloud Director Service page, and I'm going to look at the details of this. So this is actually going to open up kind of a dashboard. This gives you an overview of the metrics. So of course, if you had multiple SDDCs connected, you would get all those resources showing up here. In this case, we have 5 SDDCs connected, as you can see. There's a support tab. You'll want this if you are opening up tickets, logs, and then maintenance is pretty cool. You can actually schedule when your maintenance is going to occur, so you have some control over that. That way, your instance isn't just being upgraded at random times. So you can see, select the maintenance window there. And then add-ons, right now I believe there's only just the auto scale, but as additional add-ons get added, this is kind of where you'd go to enable those. So looking at the actions on what we can perform here, I want to call out first the associate a VMC SDDC. This process is a little more streamlined because it's VMware Cloud on AWS. And then there's the ability to generate an OVA. This would be for every other SDDC or on-prem. That's that proxy that you're deploying, right? You would deploy that. After you deploy the proxy, you would associate it using that associate data center option there. So now I believe we're just going to open up this instance. All right, I'm being told I've got 1 minute left, so we'll see what we can get to. Hopefully it can at least show you the vCenters that are connected. So we're logging into Cloud Director. This is using single sign-on with the Cloud Services console. And I'm just going to show you the infrastructure and the vCenters that are connected here. And this is the really cool part where you can actually see we have SDDCs connected from Google, Azure, and Oracle, I believe. And we've got 2 VMC SDDCs. So I'm going to zoom in here in just a second and show that. So this is what it would look like to manage all of those. And then from that point, everything with Cloud Director is going to be the same as you'd expect with on-prem. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the slide there. If you're interested in testing this out, there's actually a free trial that you can do. So that link right there is to the free trial. Anyone can do that. Just click on that, fill out a form, and test it out. If you have any questions, I'll stick around after the session, but thank you for your time.